The PlayStation 2's notoriety is very well known at this point, and with good reason. It's the best-selling video game console of all time, with sales upwards of 150 million units worldwide. So it makes sense, with sales numbers like that quite a few great games were released on the system as well. There's probably too many to list here, and maybe I'll go more in depth if I ever do a PS2 review, but this time, I'm going to be talking about one very specific series that was started on this particular console, Ratchet and Clank. Released in 2002 on the PlayStation 2 and developed by Insomniac Games, Ratchet and Clank follows the hilarious and sometimes perilous adventures of our two heroes, Ratchet, a Lombax, and Clank, a small but super smart robot.
Final step, attach robotic ignition system. Thank you for using help desk technology.
The storyline is very simple and revolves around Chairman Drek and his evil plot to create his own planet for his race, known as the Blarg, as their own homeworld has become uninhabitable due to industry and environmental destruction. Unfortunately, the construction of this new planet means that Drek will have to steal chunks from other planets, thereby destroying them in the process. Houston, we have a problem. That's pretty much the main storyline. There's other smaller tidbits here and there, and I'll mention them along the way. So the duo set off to stop Drek.
Captain Quark to help you.
Actually, you could help me. If you could use your ship to take me to the coordinates contained in this infobot, I might be able to gather further information there.
Even if I wanted to, I can't. I'm missing a crucial component of the ship.
The robotic ignition system.
How did you know that?
I, sir, happen to be equipped with the latest in robotic ignition systems. My programming allows me to start any ship I choose.
So, I agree to take you to this, wherever it is, and you get my ship started for me?
That is what I'm proposing.
Deal.
They pass through several planets, picking up information. You learn that a figure known as Captain Quark may be the galaxy's only hope, even though he's basically a television star. You arrive at planet Railgar, and after meeting Quark, he challenges you to beat his obstacle course.
You know, from the hub.
Oh, yes, I know who you are.
You do?
Yes, and thank the galaxy you found me.
Huh?
There's an awful plot being hatched to destroy our planets.
Ratchet, he knows.
Great. Does that mean we can go hoverboarding now?
My friends, we're all in grave danger, and I believe that together we can put a stop to this madness.
Together? You mean you want our help?
Look, Ratchet, I've been keeping an eye on you. I've never seen anyone with such raw talent. You are a true hero in the making.
Really? You mean I could be famous?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, here, take this. What makes one man toil in obscurity while another becomes a hero? Is it strength, compassion, determination, or just pure blind luck? Wise men through the ages have struggled with that very question, but Captain Quark knows the secret. That's why he's been able to defeat more despots, rescue more damsels in distress, and save more civilizations than any other hero in the galaxy. Now is your opportunity to see if you've got the stuff heroes are made of. This infobot contains coordinates to Quark's secret base. Can you quickly conquer Quark's killer cannonade of confounded contraptions? Can you quickly Oh, just make your way through the defenses to the center of the base. Prove yourself, learn the secret, and earn your place in galactic history. Consult your doctor before attempting any strenuous exercise. Not responsible for death or dismemberment. Your results may vary.
After finishing it, it's revealed that it was all a trap, and that Quark has been secretly working for Drek this whole time.
Did you get rid of them?
Yes. No. Well, I had this plan, and I thought...
You thought? You thought? I do the thinking around here, you slug-brained idiot. I simply needed you to eliminate those two nuisances before they could cause any real trouble. But I wanted to... Do you still want to be the highly paid spokesman for my planet?
Yeah?
Then the next time I send you to do a job, I want results! Now get out of my sight!
You defeat the Blargian Snaggle Beast, and now, the dynamic duo turns their attention to finding Quark and bringing him to justice. Or hell, just plain revenge for that matter. After acquiring an infobot with coordinates for Battalia, you arrive to help a Commando defend his position from an oncoming Blargian army. The next step on our Galaxian tour is Orxon, the former home of the Blargs. This is also the first time that Ratchet and Clank are separated, and must traverse different sections of the planet alone. You find out a little later that Drek plans to destroy the planet Hoven, using the Planet Buster Maximus.
On the perfect orbit for our planet, one which will allow for the optimum temperature all year round. However, there is a planet now occupying that orbit, and sadly, for its few insignificant inhabitants, it must be destroyed. That's why we've created this! The Planet Buster Maximus, a device capable of blowing an entire planet into subatomic particles. We're quite proud of it. Here's how it works. We attach the Planet Buster to this ship, fly it into orbit around the planet, and let it go! Kaboom! Quite ingenious, really. Once our trained professionals put the finishing touches on our new planet, everything will be complete. Thank you. Goodbye.
Now this guy's gonna blow up an entire planet? That's just mean.
That's what I've been telling you.
Look, I'm still gunning for Quark. If we end up taking out Drek too, hey, fine. What?
You do care.
Don't push it, pal.
Ratchet is victorious and the adventure moves on to Qatar, which is the planet shown at the beginning where Clank was created. You help a scientist destroy a bunch of Ultramechs and head to Klebo 3, where you meet the CEO of Gadgetron, who provides you with the Hologuise, a device which lets you slip into restricted areas by transforming you into a robot. The duo return to Qatar, and it's here that they learn that Drek plans to destroy Ratchet's home planet of Velden, and replace it with his newly constructed planetoid. Oh shit. After destroying Drek's fleet en route, you return to Velden and confront Drek in a giant mech suit. It's revealed that Drek was responsible for polluting his original planet, and intends to do the same thing with the new planet, as he can profit from it. Ratchet and Clank dispose of Drek, and stop his nefarious plans of using the deplanetizer. Instead, the team decide to use the deplanetizer to destroy Drek's almost finished constructed planet. Tons of debris rain down onto Velden and cause a lot of destruction, but the intrepid duo makes it out okay.
We, still need to fix that arm.
A brief ending is shown, with Ratchet and Clank watching TV together, ending the game. Whew, what a journey. Now that we have the bulk of the storyline out of the way, let's rewind back to the beginning of the review to talk about other things. Being that Ratchet and Clank is pretty much Insomniac's flagship series, quite a few bars were set with its release. While the game stands completely fine on its own, the fan base generated meant more games in the series could be developed. Two of the main things the series is known for are the gadgets and the weapons. Gadgets first. The list of gadgets you acquire in the game is relatively short compared to future games, and they're split between both Ratchet and Clank, allowing different movement abilities, progression, defeating security measures, and other miscellaneous activities. Some of the early items you pick up along the way are the helipack, which lets Ratchet glide by transforming Clank's arms into propellers, and also increases vertical and horizontal jumping. Swing Shot, which acts like a grappling hook and lets you cross large chasms and dangerous areas. The Grind Boots, which let you grind rails to reach new areas, and the Pilot Helmet, which lets you control a Blargan space fighter with your mind. There are a few more later on, but they're basically upgrades to the existing set, like the helipack into the thruster pack, etc. I've always found that Insomniac really does a great job of level design and planning, as the majority of the gadgets are used throughout the game, not just for a few levels after you acquire them. One of my personal favorites is the Trespasser, which lets you open Invincible locks by means of directing laser beams at appropriate receivers. It was this idea of using a gadget to open basically another minigame / puzzle that really got me hooked on the game, and the franchise as a whole, because it wouldn't be half as much fun if you just stuck the Trespasser into the lock and the door opened. This type of puzzle would return in future games, albeit in different iterations and styles. Lock and load. Let's get to the fun shit. The fucking guns. Unlike the gadgets, the weapons roster in the first game is quite impressive, with all sorts of silly and destructive tools at your disposal. You begin with your classic sidearm, the Omni Wrench 8000. It's your standard issue hand-to-hand combat weapon. Going into first-person view, you can also throw at a short distance like a boomerang. The next few guns you get allow you to experiment in taking out enemies in different ways, and seeing which guns work best in what situations. Your first range weapons are the Pyro Slider, a flamethrower, Bomb Glove, which throws bombs a short distance and explode on impact, Blaster, a small energy pistol, and the Taunter, which shouldn't really be classified as a weapon since it has no offensive capabilities. It does come in handy though if you ever want to do the infinite bolt trick during the hover bike races. As the game progresses, larger and more powerful weapons are introduced like the Devastator, Tesla Coil, and the Rhino! Gotta love the fucking Rhino. What better way to blow the shit out of bosses or other large enemies than with a 7-barreled rocket launcher? Throughout the majority of the planets, you'll meet all kinds of wacky and funny side characters. Some that come to mind are Big Al, who runs a supply store in Metropolis and provides upgrades to Clank. Commando, who always reminds me a lot of Jesse Ventura for some reason. Skid McMarks, the champion hoverboard racer. And the Shady Salesman, whose sole purpose in the game is to sell you the Rhino. Moving on to the technical side of things, Ratchet and Clank still holds up nowadays, graphically wise. Although the PS2 was capable of higher than 480i output, many of the games unfortunately didn't take advantage of it. All in all, Insomniac again does a really great job here. From character models, to explosions and machinery, to vast landscapes and scenery. The controls are pretty much spot on, although I normally have to invert the camera controls so they're like most of what we're used to nowadays. The camera can fuck up occasionally, or get stuck behind something, or it rotates at the wrong time and you get killed, or sometimes it won't even move because the game won't let you. Sometimes there's other random glitches here and there, like getting pushed through the floor and whatnot, but they don't happen too often. On the audio side of things, the music is fantastic. The soundtrack, composed by David Bergo, covers a wide assortment of styles and moods, and would return to compose for the next 3 games as well. I've tried to define what style of music most of the score can be grouped into, and the closest thing I can come up with is orchestral electronic. The sound effects and voice work are also top-notch. Explosions and gunfire sound great, and many of the voice actors really bring the characters to life. Strangely, they replaced the actor who did Ratchet's voice after the first game, but the difference isn't really noticeable. Overall, Ratchet and Clank, I feel, was a must-own title for the PS2, if you were into adventure and or action platformers. The production value is exceptional, decent storyline, top voice acting, awesome guns and gadgets, and this is just the first game in what would end up being a quadrilogy for the PS2. It was remastered in HD as part of a collection on the PS3, released in 2012, but unfortunately I got rid of my PS3 right before it came out, and I defected to Microsoft and the Xbox in 2013. Released a year later, in 2003, Ratchet and Clank Going Commando had pretty high expectations from fans. Guess what? Insomniac delivered, and they delivered big time. I was a little surprised in doing research that Going Commando was developed in such a short time, because I could have sworn back when they first came out that there was a larger period of time between releases. But I guess not. Let's jump right into the story, which picks up about a year after the first game. Ratchet and Clank are taking a much-deserved break after their ordeal. Ratchet and Clank are taking a much-deserved break after their ordeal with Chairman Drek, and saving the galaxy, you know. Unfortunately, Ratchet admits to boredom starting to set in and not having much to do as there's no need for a hero.
After that,
There was the grand opening at Groovy.
They're filming a TV show called Behind the Hero when they are suddenly transported to the Bogon Galaxy by the founder of Megacorp, Abercrombie Fizzwidget. It seems a masked criminal has made off with Megacorp's most evil. It seems a masked criminal has made off with Megacorp's most evil. It seems a masked criminal has made off with Megacorp's most valuable experiment, this fuzzy little cute thing later known as a protopet. Ratchet attempted to capture the criminal by himself, since Clank didn't want any part of it. With the assistance of thugs for less, the criminal actually kidnaps Clank, forcing the two to get involved. They catch up to the thief on planet Siberius, reclaim the experiment, and return it to Fizzwidget.
Take your imperialistic eco-fascism to another dimension!
Moment. Do you suppose we should stop him?
not worth it. We got what we came for. Let's just get that little guy back to Mr. Fizzwidget.
They promptly get ejected, accidentally of course, from Fizzwidget's ship, and after landing safely back on the ground, the duo is once again confronted by the thief, who asks for the protopet back. The thief falls over and her helmet comes off, revealing herself to be Angela Cross, a former Megacorp employee that was trying to destroy said experiment because it's dangerous.
Experiment.
We have returned it to Mr. Fizzwidget.
Oh, you've just put the whole galaxy in imminent danger.
But
I don't have time to stand around explaining it to you. If you have any intention of fixing the mess you've made, watch this.
Later, on planet Dobo, Angela's claims turned out to be real, and Ratchet and Clank try to persuade Fizzwidget to destroy the protopet. He doesn't listen, and it's learned that Megacorp is mass-producing the creature for distribution, unaware of its danger.
The computer's log indicates that we were the first to view that recording.
so Fizzwidget must not know. We've got to warn him.
Yellow.
Mr. Fizzwidget, you're safe! Sir, brace yourself. We just saw a video of your experiment eating its handlers. I repeat, it eats its handlers.
Ah, yes. Low fat, extra foam, no sprinkles.
Mr. Fizzwidget, do you copy? Anyone handling the experiment must exercise the utmost caution.
No, decapitated. What? Oh, yes, exercise my frontmost cushion.
Sir, your experts recommend that the experiment be liquidated. We will meet you at your deep space disposal facility.
Ah, yes, my cheap date proposal facsimile. It's heavily guarded, so make sure to use the password, which is, Quarktastic. Yes, toodaloo.
Thugs for Less are now hired to protect Fizzwidget as Ratchet and Clank head to Bolden, where they attempt to bump off Fizzwidget but are captured. Sent to the prison planet Aranos, Clank escapes with a little help and frees Ratchet. They take off for Thugs for Less HQ to free Angela, who was also captured. After destroying the leader, the three characters head to the Megacorp HQ.
Where do protopets come from? Why, they come from Megacorp, dear.
That's right, Mrs. Robot. All of the protopets in the galaxy come from right here, in our factory. Your little friend is lovingly extracted from the original protopet. Each protopet is given a name and birth certificate that is unique. Our training system helps mold your pet into a wonderful friend that you'll cherish forever. So the next time your child asks,
Mommy, where do protopets come from?
you can answer with confidence. They come from Megacorp.
Where they find that Captain Quark, who was left disgraced after the first game, was using the protopet to restore his reputation. In a major twist, it's revealed that Fizzwidget is actually Quark in disguise! Bastard. He takes the trio hostage and tries to frame them during a live television broadcast for everything that has happened. Quark thinks he can stop the protopets with Angela's helixomorph, but it accidentally malfunctions and transforms the protopet into a gigantic monster, who promptly eats Quark and the gadget before making a getaway. Ratchet defeats the mutated protopet and learns that the helixomorph didn't work correctly because the batteries were inserted backwards.
Right. What do you suppose is wrong with it?
I don't know. It could take months of research and...
The battery is in backwards.
Oops.
Angela takes care of all the other protopets throughout the galaxy by sending the helixomorph signal through the TV broadcast, turning them back into helpless creatures. Turns out the real Fizzwidget was locked in a closet the whole time by Quark. The trio plus Clank's new female friend return to Clank's apartment, where they see that Quark has accepted a new job at Megacorp, being the test dummy for their new inventions and gadgets. End of game.
Nice and tight now. So you tested this, right? Oh, wait, that's why I'm here. Oh, one more thing.
As previously mentioned, Ratchet and Clank 2 improves upon many of the first game's elements. The controls pretty much function analogous to the first game, as does your weapon quick select. Some new additions are the leveling system for Ratchet, as killing and destroying things makes you gain more nanomites, increasing your available health. Weapon leveling to increase their power is also available. However, you're only allowed to power them up once on your first playthrough. Playing through a second time allows 2 times more power gain. During the first level up, the weapon's outward appearance also changes. During areas where you take control of Clank, you again have access to little helper robots called microbots that can now perform a variety of actions, such as transforming into a bridge to traverse gaps, lifting heavy walls, and even hammering walls that impede your progress. The battles with Giant Clank return and are a nice way to break up normal level progression. Because who doesn't like running around as a giant robot, destroying everything in your fucking way? The space battles return, and there are now additional challenges you can accomplish to acquire more bolts, as well as picking up Raritanium, used to upgrade your ship with better weapons and shields. Hoverbike races return, and are basically another simple way to get more bolts. Lastly, the arena battles have been introduced.
Ask yourself, are you man enough, hero enough, insane enough to step into the ring with two of the fiercest warriors in the galaxy? If you answered yes, you're a big, fat liar. But that's okay, because Megacorp is bringing galactic gladiators into your home for a special Mega View event. First, it's survival of the fittest in our bio competition. Be there as Chainblade unleashes his fury on our gladiator guest contestants. Chainblade has gone undefeated in 500 straight matches, but if the bio division doesn't do it for you, our robotics division will. Taste the adrenaline as contestants face off against our four-armed bandit, the B2 Brawler. No living creature is a match for this machine. Watch 6 tons of Carbonox alloy hunt for its prey. There's no consolation prize, cause this bad boy's programmed to show no mercy. So what are you waiting for? Call now to bring Chainblade and the B2 Brawler into your living room. But put away the fine china. The Galactic Gladiators, only on Megaview. Call your provider now.
Now, I saved this for last because it's pretty much the most fun out of all of the secondary bolt-earning activities. These take place in a giant stadium, with Ratchet pummeling wave after wave of enemies and even a few bosses. A large chunk of your game time can be spent here, as not only do you gain lots of bolts, it's also a very easy area to level up your weapons if you're having troubles and need better firepower. After completing the game, you can start a new one in what's known as Challenge Mode. Here, you can play through the game again, yet you start with everything from the get-go. All guns, gadgets, armor, etc. And now have the ability to level them up even further. There are also armor upgrades, which, for a decent chunk of bolts, you not only get cool-looking duds, but your damage percentage is reduced by 33%, 50%, and 66% respectively. If you want to up it to 90% and you have enough bolts, buy the badass looking Carbonox armor. It costs 1,000,000 bolts, so good luck with that. Again, you'll run into all sorts of characters this time around. My favorites are probably the New Age Mystic, whom you find on Tabora and Grelbin. Basically collection events where you run around the area looking for desert crystals and moonstones, which then would be traded for bolts. Unlike the first game, Going Commando has quite a few boss fights, either through story events or side challenges. Most are contained within the battle arena, such as Chainblade and the fucking B2 Brawler. There's also the swamp monster you fight twice on Uzla, and the leader of Thugs for Less. Moving on to weapons, the roster has been greatly increased, both in quantity and variety. As the weapons in this game can be upgraded through continuous use, even if you don't like a certain gun, it's usually a good idea to level it up anyways, as its more powerful version may come in handy later on in the game somewhere. You have newer classics to start with, if that makes any sense. Weapons like the Blitz Cannon, Bomb Glove, and Decoy Glove all return. However, even your trusty Omni Wrench can now be upgraded as well. You have a bunch of newcomers to the arsenal, and I think Going Commando is really the first game in the series where the weapons, for the most part, really start doing damage equivalent to what you'd expect. Like in the first game, even a lot of the larger guns you get later in the game, like the Devastator, it always seemed underpowered to me. This time, as weapons are acquired and upgraded, the firepower seems to make more sense to me. When you upgrade the gravity bomb to the mini nuke, you can tell this thing does massive damage. In fact, the majority of weapons in their upgraded form do tons of damage. If you have save data on your memory card from the first game, you can unlock the weapons from the first game for free, which is kind of fun. On the gadget side of things, again, we see a large increase not only in the amount of gadgets that are in the game, but also they become a lot more dynamic in Going Commando. By that, I mean they could be utilized for more than just one thing, so to speak. The Dynamo activates platforms, bridges, and other platforming objects. The Swing Shot returns, but instead of just pulling you or letting you swing from grapple points, you can now use it to pull objects to you or pull down walkways. The Therminator is new, but basically functions like the Hydro Displacer in the previous game. Its dual functionality lets you either freeze large bodies of water into ice for traversal, or by using its Fireball mode, you can melt ice already into swimmable water. The Electrolyzer is the new tool for opening locked doors via turning switches to allow for electricity to pass without interruption, as well as the Infiltrator, which functions almost the same, but gives you a different minigame type puzzle in order to open the door. Lastly, we have the Glider, which allows controlled flight for the first time in the series. Unfortunately, you're only allowed to use it in certain areas, for certain reasons, instead of just being able to fly all over the place. Graphically wise, the game looks really good. Textures seem a little smoother than the first game, and many of the environments have been tightened up. Each level is now packed to the gills with destructible scenery, and you'll need every bullet you scoop up. Switching gears to the audio side of things, the sounds and music are just as good, if not better, than the first game. The majority of sounds have been designed well, and only a few are reused from the first game, like the funny sound Ratchet makes when he's jumping off a wall. The soundtrack, once again composed by David Bergo, is awesome! I think it's a perfect example of the synergy of different musical styles found in the game, combining orchestral, electronic, and ambient elements. Overall, Ratchet and Clank Going Commando is a fantastic addition to the series, and an awesome sequel to boot. I think Going Commando really represents when the series, as well as Insomniac, really started to hit its stride, especially on the PlayStation 2. Terrific characters and voice work, kick-ass guns and gadgets, memorable soundtrack, and just an overall fun factor of about 13.765. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, stay tuned for part 2. In the meantime, go check them out.